Hello, this is Julius from Basic Financials. This video is about debits and credits and that terminology and whether it's useful or not, what it means, how it's been used in the past, how it's still used, and when to be very careful about the terminology. This is something I think I've talked about before, but I just wanted to sort of raise it again and then to see how it actually applies in the real world. Now, debits and credits are something that are used in bookkeeping, and it's very simple. The concept is very simple and is very, very useful for keeping records for business. It's useful for keeping records for individuals as well, if you know what's going on. But keeping books and records, debits and credits, is what it's all about. It might have different terminology, and certainly certain software packages try and make it so that you're not looking at debits and credits. You might be looking at pluses and minuses and various other ways of describing them. But it's all the same thing. And basically what it means is there are two sides to every transaction. For example, let's say you've got a bank account and there's a bank charge, let's say on your bank. Now, if you were keeping books and records, you would be taking, so let's say you've got a £100 bank charge, you would be taking £100 out of your bank. But what's the other side of that transaction? It's a bank charge. So in your bookkeeping, bank charges would be what they call a profit and loss account expense. So you'd have £100 expense on bank charges, and then that's a plus. And then on the other side, you'd have a minus of £100 against your bank. So your bank balance has come down by 100. So everything stays in balance. Let's say going back a step. So before you set that bank account up, you actually had to put some money into it. And so let's say you put £1,000 into that account. So you would put £1,000 into the account from your own money. Let's say you're a director, so we'll call that a director's loan. So what you'd be doing, you'd be plussing the bank with £1,000, and you'd be minusing the director's loan. Now that doesn't sound very good for the director, because it sounds like he's got a minus loan account. Well, it's a minus, but that means it's a minus from the point of view of the company or the business, so that the business owes the director that amount of money. Again, everything balances. That's purely balance sheet. No expenses or sales or on the profit and loss account. It's all balance sheet. So you've got £1,000 in your bank, then you've got £1,000 owed to the director. Then you've got that, going back to that bank charge, you've got £100 coming, minusing on the bank and plussing to the expenses, bank charges. So you've now got £900 in your bank, so that's a plus. You've got £1,000 still owed to the director, and then you've got a loss, profit and loss account, loss of £100. So everything's balancing still. The pluses and the minus add up. So that's what's going on with the bookkeeping and how everything stays in balance. Now, the debits and credits come in where the pluses there are the debits and the minuses are the credits. Now that straight away you might start thinking, oh, well, we debited our bank account, we plussed our bank account with £1,000, and we minused our director's loan with £1,000. So that means we've got a debit of £1,000 in our bank account. But surely, if the bank's got money in it, that's a credit balance. Now, this is where it's not wrong, but this is where things has got confused a little bit, because that credit balance is because the banks have always told you what your balance is from their point of view. In their books, they owe you that money. You've put the money into them. and it's so they've got money in their bank account, but it's owed to you. So if you give them £1,000, then in their books they've put in £1,000 in their bank account, and they're crediting you, so they owe you that money. A bit like when the director put the money in your books, you put the £1,000 of debit into your account, and you owed the director credit £1,000. Well, in the bank's records, which is the mirror image of what you've got, they've got money in their bank of £1,000 and they owe it to you. So they say you're a credit. That's where this terminology of credit comes from. And consequently, everyone thinks that a credit to their bank account means that money going in. So you can see how things have got a bit confused there. So when you hear on the news, I think there was something a while back where it was all in the. I think it was somebody in the Bank of England was saying, "Oh no, they don't understand their debits and credits." Well, it's not really surprising, is it? What you need to know with debits and credits is two things. You need to know if it's a debit or a credit, and you also need to know from whose point of view is it. So a practical example of this is energy companies are probably the worst for it, where they say your account is £100 or £1,000, or it shouldn't be that, but let's say your account is £250 in debit. What does that mean? It's very difficult to know. Do they mean that it's in debit from their point of view, or do they mean it's in debit from your point of view? And what's even more confusing is that one might do it one way and another might do it the other. So you haven't got a chance really. So what? Basically, unless there are normally explanation notes, but if you don't understand whether that debit is money you owe or money that's owed to you, don't worry, it's not you. It's just the way it is. It's the terminology. It's because unless they tell you from whose point of view, whose records, then you don't know. So you're not being silly. So there are normally explanation notes, as I say. So in the energy company's bill, you can go and find out what that debit means normally. What would be much better is if they said to you, your account is £250, we owe you £250, or you owe us £250. Banks have got much better. They normally now show on their statements money in and money out, which is quite a lot clearer. And to some extent, this is why bookkeeping packages have tried to get away from debits and credits, because it's fine if you understand what's going on, but it just adds to confusion. So that's debits and credits. It's a really useful system for keeping your own records or keeping your own business records. But it's very easy to confuse things if you then try and communicate that to somebody else, because they need to know from whose point of view you're talking about. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that's been useful, and yeah, if you've got any questions, you're going to leave them in the box below. Please like and subscribe as usual, and I shall see you again for another video sometime soon. Thanks for listening.